Hello, welcome to DECB's Economics TV. This is the weekly economics report. This is what I promised. We are on track to keep, to bring you a weekly broadcast for not just for bankers, but for the average individual. This is the whole thing: is that we're extending the opportunity, the economic opportunities that mostly were reserved for bankers. We're bringing it out to the average person, and that's because they can easily be decoded. The mysteries and the gurus needed uh, to impart the wisdoms of the current economic going ons uh, need be you know imparted only by the prophets and mystics uh, of the economics world to a certain few. If you're a physicist, they can easily be decoded. All you have to do is look at any physics modeling, particularly in dynamic modeling, and take the same principles and observations that we use in astronomy, and use them here for economics, and you get the same results. So uh, we've done this. I've done the research. I've done the analysis, and now I'm going to give you the goods. So we're going to start off looking at events that are in the news, particularly with the O'Reilly factor.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Ingram in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The phony war on women, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Keeping with the theme of suffering on Good Friday, the White House hosted and boasted a Women in the Economy conference. Now this of course follows the relentless push by Democrats to gin up the contrived war on women election year narrative. The Obama campaign has made it clear that appealing to working women is a key part of the president's re-election strategy. The administration confab showcased familiar Obama boosters and election year feminists, including conservatives such as Obama pal Kathleen Parker. Now, this was a choreographed event for maximum political pandering, though the president tried his usual jujitsu.
Women are not some monolithic bloc. Women are not an interest group. You shouldn't be treated that way.
So why are you treating them that way, Mr. President? What happened to bringing people together rather than dividing them along gender, racial, and socioeconomic lines? And if you look at the facts, women are doing better than men. In her new book, The Richer Sex, Liza Mundy cites new research that shows in U.S. cities, single women in their 20s without children on average make more than men. And check this out, almost 40% of working wives out-earn their husbands. The next generation of women in America will make more than their male counterparts across all levels of employment. In 49 of the last 50 months, unemployment was lower for women than men, this according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and women receive roughly 3/5 of both bachelor's and master's degrees from American colleges and universities. And get this, it gets better. The national journal Heartland Monitor Group is reporting that 3/4 of women say they believe they can now advance as far as their talents will take them, regardless of their gender. And nearly as many report that they've not experienced discrimination at all in the workplace. Now, I know the president would like to take credit for all of this, but the fact is these gains began long before his inauguration. And we do not need to waste the taxpayers' money on transparently political events designed to reinforce the bogus notion that Democrats care more about women and Republicans don't. And that's the memo. Now,
So we've got that report there. Is it the whole argument? It's going to be the economy stupid is playing out, but what happens is Obama's got a real serious problem in that uh, the economy isn't doing so well, and although they say things are starting to turn around, they really aren't. And all you have to do is you sort of kind of have to, again, as I said, you have to sort of pick up the covers and look beneath the rhetoric. Um, you can't have an economic recovery while you're still closing plants down. You can't have an economic recovery while you're still banning industries and putting them out of business. for environmental reasons. You can't have an economic recovery when a plant needs to expand like Boeing, and you say that they can't build a plant in a particular area because it doesn't have proper union support. In other words, at every turn when Obama has announced an economic plan, there has been always been behind his so-called support for businesses an underlying condition that makes it impossible, and regulation that makes it impossible for a business to do business. This is why the pipeline to nowhere is the pipeline to nowhere. First, it was a pipeline that disappeared, but now it's a pipeline to nowhere because the pipeline that was supposed to connect to Canada can't go to Canada because it's being blocked by environmental regulation. So what happens to all the jobs? And the thing is, and this is what has always happened. All you have to do is look on the packages of your light bulbs, right? The light bulbs had once said GE USA. They no longer say GE USA. They now say GE China. Why did those jobs move to China? Why is GE manufacturing its light bulbs in China? Well, because light bulb manufacturing in the United States and Canada has been banned. It's been banned environmentally. It's considered to be an environmentally poor choice, so they banned it. They banned the manufacturing. They didn't ban the sale of it. They banned the manufacturing of light bulbs and that, thinking that would solve the problem. It didn't. They simply moved the plant to China. They're going after the coal companies now, right? They're going to try to shut down coal. That's going to stop the coal industry, right? No. All it's going to do is shut down plants here, and all the plants are already starting to move over to China. They want to stop oil from expanding because they want to give other alternative energy choices a chance and not put so much effort into oil refineries, right? Because oil refineries are polluting, they're a carbon threat. So let's shut down the oil refineries or restrict them to the point where they have to shut down. That's going to resolve the problem, right? No. It simply means that everything's moving off to China now because China's now planning to build massive oil refineries. And they're violent because of the number of people that are in Asia. If they start producing oil for that region there, and start producing in terms of the refining business, then the United States will easily import from China the oil that it used to manufacture here, simply because it's cheaper to do so per volume in China and in India. And the thing is, all you have to do to understand what's going on in the economy and where the economic situation is going on is look at China and India as opposed to what's going on in Europe. China and India have adopted a Republican economic outlook in terms of how they are going to work with their economic policy, and Europe has stuck with something that, actually, not Europe is stuck with. Obama has adopted the European policy. So if you look at Europe or you look at Greece, you want to see what's going on in Greece, take a good look at what's going on there, because that's going to happen in the United States. Because that's where the economic policy is heading right now under Obama. And if we re-elect Obama, well, let's assume we don't re-elect Obama. If we can't get rid of this socialist mentality in the United States that says the government has to be involved in everything, then we are not going to move in the direction of China and India, economically speaking. We are going to move in the direction of Europe. Because this is what's going on in Europe right now. In Europe, almost every single industry in Europe, the major industries, are all supported and funded by the government. There are no real private industry. They're all called quasi crown corporations. They're corporations owned by the state. Or are state funded or state supported by massive grants and subsidies. And the thing is that the United States has moved into this subsidy quandary, the quagmire of subsidies, with its own American business. Right now, the fanfare that's going on with GM and Chrysler and all these other car companies, American car companies who have received bailouts, is that while yes they're making money, but they haven't made back the amount of money they're still in the red in terms of what was actually given. So we have not yet earned the money back yet. And you go and ask the opinion: will the United States ever earn the money back that it put into it? And the answer is no. The real answer that's being told to the bankers and being told to the people who know where to invest. The reason why they're investing in China and Asia and they're not investing in the United States, and this is true for Warren Buffett, this is true for George Soros. These are some of the major money makers who are in the market. They're the hedge funds. They have major hedge funds. When Obama came into office, well, they were cheerleading Obama. They were moving their assets. They were moving their investments out of the United States into the global market, and particularly into Asia. If you want to see George Soros's and Warren Buffett's support for Obama, take a look at where they put their money. And when you see the outflows of capital from the United States into foreign markets, into Asia, you'll understand where Warren Buffett and particularly his Berkshire Hathaway group and George Soros's group actually stand. And they stand against the United States and Obama's plans and his economic policies. And if that continues, if Obama wins, and this is what it has to be, the U.S. election has to be on a referendum for one, anything but Obama. Unless you want the United States to turn out like Europe, to have the same thing that we see happening in Greece, if you want that, vote for Obama. If you don't want that, vote for Romney. And here's how you work this. Romney and the Republicans say they are for low government, small government, low taxes for everybody. Keep them to this. Let them reduce government. Let them reduce taxes for everybody, not just for the rich, for everybody. Have the tax reductions be across the board. Keep them to this promise. And you can do this because, even if you're not a Republican group, you can do this, because anybody under the Republicans, under the small government banner, because they are leaving things to private organizations, there's no reason why a socialist organization couldn't set up on its own, couldn't go out and fundraise, and keep Romney to the promise of small government and tax cuts for everybody. There's no reason you couldn't do that. There's no reason why then, if you are free to do whatever you want to do in business, and it's your business, if you're a socialist group and you want to be there for humanitarian, there's no reason why you couldn't set up a soup kitchen. There's no reason why you couldn't set up a school that trains people to bring them out of the economic situation that they're in. And in other words, there's no reason why in the United States, if you are keeping Romney to his promise, if he gets elected, and any Republican in this way, to the promise that they're not going to behave in a socialist Orwellian manner. They're not going to be going out there and arresting people because they don't like their immigrants, the fact that they're immigrants, or saying, oh, these people are illegal immigrants, so we have to arrest them, or these people are not so, and they come up with some excuse where these people have to be arrested and put into jail. That can be stopped because with the Republican side, because groups can stand up and say no. They can form and be opposition to these people. You can't do that with the Socialist Democrats, though, with Obama being elected. Why? Because if everything is done by the government, then these groups, these NGOs, these non-profit organizations will have to disappear because it's going to be the government that takes care of everything. And the thing is, all these government programs have to be paid for. Any program you bring out to a person has to be paid for. And here's the problem that I have with these government-supported NGOs. If you're an NGO out there and you're receiving assistance from the government and you can't survive without government assistance, how are you going to teach people who are not in a financial position to take care of themselves financially? How are you going to teach these people to be financially self-sufficient when you can't be financially self-sufficient? In other words, if you can't be financially self-sufficient, then you can't teach other people to be financially self-sufficient. And this is where we see a lot of the failings in these community organizations that Obama had been part of in Chicago and stuff like that. And we see now that Chicago is in some of the worst conditions it's ever been in, economically speaking. And in terms of the violence is reflecting this, particularly on black violence. These community groups have done nothing, and I'm talking particularly about Acorn, have done nothing to help out their fellow black person in there. And the thing is, the question is, if you, and this is where the statement comes in again, economically speaking, if you're on subsidies and you depend on subsidies to survive, and you're not earning your own money, then how are you going? How do you expect to teach somebody else to do this, to do what you're not doing? And this is what I'm saying is that the election has to be about the economy. It has to point out that the failings of the social left. But at the same time, while you're pointing out the failings of the social left and ensuring that doesn't continue on, just because you don't like a Republican doesn't mean you shouldn't support in terms of vote for him. If I were on the left and I wanted to keep my small organization, I'd vote for a Republican. Why? Because under the Republican banner, it says reducing taxes for everybody, reducing small government. That means I can move in, I can help the person as much as I want to help the person, and I don't have to deal with any interference from the government at all. And this is assuming that as a small organization that you are able to raise the funds that you need to raise, that you're able to keep yourself solvent without going in and tipping into the government jar of subsidies. If you are not able to do this, then you should go apply and become part of the government agency. Because what Obama is going to do, if he continues on this path to socialism, all private organizations, all these private community groups will be absorbed by the government and be run by the government. They'll be government controlled and government run and run according to government regulations. And you'll have to be part of the government in order to have a job in these particular fields. So all the volunteer work, all of the humanitarian work that's being done by various different organizations, like the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, all of that's going to be tossed out because it's all going to be done by the government. And at some point in time, all these government programs are going to have to be paid for. And as they keep knocking off business after business after business, making it difficult for people to earn money by going after, because the millionaire tax is not a tax on millionaires, it's a tax and an attack on everybody who wants to have a retirement fund. Anyone who has a retirement fund, a pension fund, you are now under this millionaire's tax. And I know this personally, because I know people personally in the United States who are retired. They're women, as they're talking about Obama's disconnection with women. Obama, while he's talking about protecting women, about promoting their economic good, he's attacking them. He's attacking the elderly women who have pension funds that, from his perspective, he sees these pension funds and he says, oh, these people are now millionaires. We're going to tax them. And that's not fair. If you've earned your money, there's no reason why you should be robbing pensioners. This is what is going on. Robbery is when you're stealing from people, when you're taking money without asking for permission. And you see this on kids' programs, right? A kid goes and borrows a toy. Oh, I borrowed this toy without asking permission. Oh, I'm just borrowing it. And the parent says, no, that's not borrowing, that's stealing. No, that's not stealing, it's borrowing. No, if you take something without permission, that's stealing. What's Obama doing? What's he doing to these pensioners? What's he doing to when the people die and he goes in and takes their money and their property? Obama and the Democrats right now are people who rob and steal from old age pensioners. They're people who rob and steal from graves. And we think this is okay, but the thing is, this is what we've been conditioned, the average public has been conditioned to think, that stealing and the stealing that goes on under the name of taxes is all right. And it's not all right. If you want to have the right to earn and live the way you want to live, that's your right as an American. And that's how you grow economically speaking. As soon as you step your foot in front of it and say no, the government's going to tell you what you can and cannot make. You no longer have the right and freedom to stand up and earn your own money. And your economic situation is going to be not what you want it to be, but what you're told it's going to be by the government. And this is what Obama's saying to people. And this is what he's doing to people. If you look beneath the rhetoric, if you listen to carefully what he's saying is that the government's going to step in and run the economy. The government's going to come in and say what you can and cannot earn. This is his economic fair council in terms of his salaries are determining whether or not somebody is getting a fair salary or not. Well, it's not the government's business to determine whether somebody is fair. If an NBA player is making so many millions of dollars from a private company and people want to pay him this money because they want to go see him play these games, that's a private issue. The government has no business being in there saying, oh, you're making too much money. You can't have that much money. You need to give it to other people. And the thing is, they don't give it to other people. They give it to themselves. These people are, this Robin Hood attitude of robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, that's not real. The Robin Hood scenario that's going on here is these socialists, like Obama, are robbing from the rich and giving to themselves, and then deciding, I'll give a little bit later on. I'll give a little bit of what I've taken to the poor. They're keeping most of the money for themselves. So if you're in an economic position and you're trying to decide where you want to go, who you want to vote for, you need to ask yourself this question: do you want to be economically free to decide, how much money you're going to make? If that's the case, you vote for Republican. If you don't want to be economically free and you want to be an economic slave to the government, then you vote for Obama. That's your choices there. This is what's going to happen. And as I said, if you're an old age pensioner and you believe that you're exempt from these taxes, guess again. I know old age pensioners right now who are concerned about being because they've been told by the IRS that they're going to be taxed on their pensions. The IRS now, under Obama's orders, are going after old age pensioners. These funds, these pension funds that you thought that were yours, that they promised not to tax, they're going to tax them, and they're going to tax them heavily. You are the millionaires they're talking about. So the choice is yours. Choose who you want to vote for based on how it's going to affect you the most. If you do not want your pension fund wiped out and taxed to death, vote Republican. If you want your pension fund to be taxed and you want to be told what you can and cannot make, vote for Obama. If you want an economic situation like you see in China and India, vote Republican. If you want the economic situation you see in Europe and in Greece and in Spain and in Italy, vote Obama. So again, Republican economic situation, vote Republicans. That's India and China. You want Obama's economic situation, you look at Europe and Greece. And these are your choices here. And again, it affects you. Who do you want telling you what you can and cannot make? Do you want yourself to be making that decision? Vote Republican. If you want the government to tell you what you can and cannot make, vote Obama and vote Democrat. Those are your choices. And I said, if you're a Democrat, if you're a person, let's say you're a person out there and you want to be a fair-minded person, you want to have this charity that you want to help people out in, and you want to help the poor out, and you believe the poor should be helped more. You can't do that under the Democrats, because the Democrats want everything done by the government. So if you're a person who wants a small community organization and to be successful and to stay out there, then you're going to want to vote Republican, because the Republicans will allow you to exist and work, where the Democrats will put you out of business because you're competing with the government's own interests. So this is the economic situation here. We'll be going into more depth why these economic situations do exist, how both taxes and the cost of employment affect inflation, so that you can see how taxes, even on the rich, affect the poor the most. And this will give you a good guide as to how, you want to vote, and then two, I'll also be bringing in options for you if you're unemployed, that you don't have to stay unemployed. And this is something that the Greeks knew. Most immigrants know this. If somebody's not going to employ you, that there are ways and methods to stand up and create your own businesses. The problem that you're facing in the United States now, and this is across a lot of the United States, is that when you stand up and you want to create a business, one of the biggest obstacles that you're going to have to face is the government and government regulation and the government taxes. They are going to try, particularly in the beginning, to knock you out, to basically knock you out of competition with the larger companies who are supplying the positions for unions. In other words, while they're talking about promoting small business, the unions don't want small businesses to exist because they compete with the larger businesses who employ the unions. So this is the economic situation they're going for. You'll be able to see this inside of Europe, inside of Greece. So if that's where you want to go, you vote for Obama. If you want to have your own business, no matter what you're doing in your own business, you vote Republican. And if you don't do this and you own your own business, and you want to have your own small community group and you don't vote Republican, don't be surprised when you put out of business. All right, take it easy. This is the economic report for this week. I will be back next Monday with the next economic report.
Free speech rules here at Democratic Earth.